I'm not here to hurt you. I'm you. From the future. I'm here to investigate something in the past.
So Zahn is in trouble right now?
If you would just listen, we'll be keeping the city safe from a devastating future.
Well, if it isn't the boy who shattered time.
There is a war coming.
I don't know what happens in the future. But it's not up to you to fix the world all by yourself.
He's been coming back to the past over and over again, trying to fix something in our timeline.
We've all got him, Echo. The first fight you have to beat is with yourself.
This isn't over. Not yet.
I'm trying to save both of our cities from a disastrous fate.
You're mine!
What's up, GLYFers? I'm Nerdsworth. Convergence, a League of Legends story, available to play and download on all platforms now. And we have the pleasure of conversing with seasoned Riot Forge creative director Rowan Parker. So we're going to chop it up, get into it. First and foremost, congratulations on another successful game launch, Rowan.
Thanks,
I'm sure I can't imagine the feeling that it gets every time once everything is green and you hit go and then it's out in the audience hands.
You have no idea. We always say for every game that made it across the finish line, there's 1,000 games that never made it. It's actually finishing a game it's a huge undertaking. Like the team at Double Stallion did an awesome job.
So with our time, congratulations. We want to learn a bit about Convergence, of course, but as an aspiring creative director, as a person with a hyper mind, I also would love to learn about your process.
Sure.
Because you are doing what I think a lot of people want to do, but they never surely know where to go or where to start. So
yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Before we get into you, can you tell us about the vision behind Riot Forge, what motivated its creation, and how it fits into the broader League of Legends universe?
Sure. So for people that maybe if they don't know, so Riot Forge is a third-party publishing label within Riot Games. We make single-player, bespoke narrative storytelling games with the characters and the world of League of Legends. We started at the end of 2018. We've been going for getting close to 5 years now, and we've released 4 games to date. We released Ruin King, Hextech Mayhem, and this year recently we released Mage Seeker, and the game that Ra just mentioned, Convergence, came out in May. So part of the idea here is, the world and the characters of League of Legends. I think a lot of people are in orbit around them, and a lot of people know about our characters and world, but maybe not everyone is able to go and play like a super hardcore online, PvP competitive game. But they still, love the world and the characters. So, what are ways we can give players to engage and interact with our world and characters, which isn't the MOBA? Riot Forge is a way to do that.
That's fantastic. And when you choose characters in Convergence, what made you choose Echo?
So the process of making like a Forge game is pretty complicated. When we first reach out to studios or when we work with studios, we don't actually have a pitch in mind to start. A lot of studios, I think, expect us to show up with like a pitch and we say, hey, can you please make this? It actually doesn't work like that at all. It's a very deep collaboration with the studios about, hey, what's your expertise? What matters to you as a studio or with your studio culture? What kind of gameplay or stories, is compelling to you? And then we kind of eventually circle and coalesce around, something which is a marriage of gameplay and story and thematic. And so in this case, the team was excited about the character of Echo because they have a great platforming pedigree. Double Stallion made Speed Brawl and other games beforehand, so they have really good action platforming gameplay, and the time rewind mechanic for Echo works really well with that. And then as they learned more about Zorn and some of the characters and the world surrounding Echo and Zorn, it started to collect on like, hey, this would be a really great city to explore with a 2D platformer, to be able to run and jump around it and to be able to fight, enemies, and it kind of like moves from there. One thing I will mention is we don't sign any games until we're convinced that it's a compelling game agnostic of the League of Legends IP. Like
That's
I will
very
not,
interesting.
I will not
very
personally
cool.
greenlight a game until I'm convinced it's just a sick game.
It can stand alone.
Yeah, it's just a
on its
sick
own
game
and-
without the League IP. And then we talk about, okay, what's the thematic blend? Like, what's the design that like comes in here? So I think, how do we arrive at Echo? It's not as simple as just like we pick Echo. It's all of the things that, are around that and support that, and what kind of story, would be cool and compelling to tell with the champion.
So when it comes to the visual aesthetic, and I guess working with the team, I'm sure they have their voices as well, but when it comes to the visual aesthetic, how was it, landed on, and how does it enhance the overall experience of
So
the
that's
player?
absolutely the team. That's so Eric, who is the creative director over at Double Stallion in Montreal. So Eric has a really strong, like he's an art director, has really strong art chops. And Eric had a very clear vision in his head for the style that he wanted. This bright, electric, bold visual style with very like, I would say very like confronting colors and like bright, bold color choice. And part of the way we're thinking about this is, so for people that maybe don't know, so Echo is a young boy inventor who lives in the city of Zorn. Zorn is a city which is below another city called Piltover and is often looked down upon by Piltover, is maybe seen as being a bit dirty or being, the lower city,
The
or
underground.
undercity.
Got it, yeah.
However, for Echo, the young boy that was born and grew up there, from his point of view, he doesn't see it that way. He doesn't see it as, this dirty undercity. It's his home.
He's not a victim of his environment.
He sees it as this beautiful Technicolor wonderland that he
Beautiful.
grew up in and lives in. And so I think Eric was trying to convey that through the art choice and the style that he went with. So when we see the Zorn in Convergence, we're seeing Zorn through Echo's eyes, which is this beautiful, sparkling, city which he lives in and he calls home.
With that, and seeing the world through Echo's eyes, is there a specific feeling or is there something you hope players take away from the experience with Convergence?
So I think it's one of the first opportunities players have had to explore the city of Zorn, which is the city in Runeterra, which is the world League of Legends is set in. So we had a lot of fun building out new areas and new, I guess, like boroughs of Zorn, which maybe don't exist yet, but also actually take you on like a grand tour of Zorn. You get to go through Entresol, you get to go through the Sump, we take you to factories, we take you to the theater district. So you kind of get to see Zorn while you ride shotgun with Echo and see it through his eyes. And I think all of the palettes, like the color palettes, the backgrounds, the color key for the game is just, honestly, it's gorgeous. Like Eric and the team, they did such a great job. Like when you look at a color key of the game, it's bright and it's colorful and you're not just looking at the same thing over and over.
That's great considering, seeing, I mean, a lot of people have seen a lot of the forest perspective through League of Legends, and then with the animation, as colorful as it is, it still has this sort of hard steampunk muted color vibe. Even though it's, bright and colorful, it still has this, you get it. So
we had to do a lot of work to just not make the whole game black and green. Because I think Zorn is very predisposed to just being black and green. Like that's the colors which people will associate with it. So finding ways to bring different environments which still feel true to the source material. They still feel like Zorn, but we're able to give you like some rest, so you don't just get visual fatigue on your eyes for the art to just be looking at the same thing for 12 hours.
So with the team that you have and with Riot Forge, and maybe we're jumping way down the road, but are there any plans to expand Riot Forge beyond the League of Legends IPs, play outside the boundaries of the League of Legends worlds?
So at the moment, I would say no. Riot Forge, we're playing with the League of Legends IP, and it really comes down to, it's player demand. we're building games and we're building worlds and experiences which players, have wanted for a long time.
Mhm.
Players that, wanted a way to learn more about the character of Echo or about the character of Silas or, the characters in Ruin King. And so, maybe there will come a day where there's enough demand or there's, an audience that maybe wants experiences outside of like the base League of Legends or like the base Runeterra IP. But I would say not yet.
That's very fair. And for a little creative director walk as we go into the next segment, can you provide a bit of insight into the creative process behind developing a Riot Forge game from conceptualization to green light, green disc in the hands of players?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, sometimes studios approach us, and sometimes, maybe we're just playing a game, or I'm like, this game's really cool, and we reach out to studios. But once that connection has happened, it's a long process of discussing, what's the skills and expertise of the studio,
Mhm.
scope, budget, a lot of pragmatic, considerations of just general game development of, what we can actually make, and what the team wants to make and is excited to make. And then it's finding gameplay or finding thematic connections which blend with that in the IP and the world of League of Legends, which go well with, the gameplay or the seed that the studio wants to make. So Double Stallion, they have this wonderful like I would say like 2D cell style animation, which
Mhm.
they've built muscles for over the entire lifetime of the studio with traditional cell animation and the work that they do in Unity to get custom animation working with their vector art style. Bold, bright colors, strong, thick black outlines, the
Mhm.
paper doll style animation they do. Their combat, the 2D combat, the side profile combat they've got, the worlds, the environments they build out. So it's a long process. It takes 3-6 months. Like I don't want to say a year because we have to start going before a year, but it can take like 3-6 months working through that pitch process, figuring out concepts. What are the core systems? It seems like it takes a long time, but it also happens very
Yeah,
quickly
it's
at
giving
the
me
start.
anxiety. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, it all happens very, very quickly. And Forge is there supporting the studio the whole way. So the studio doesn't just have to figure out everything on their own. We don't just throw them to the wolves with the
Mhm.
League of Legends IP.
Mhm.
Forge is there to help, bring them into the world of League of Legends, provide some guardrails or, assistance on, what we should and shouldn't be doing. When we have to paint in blank canvas, the studios are often suggesting a lot of that blank canvas. And then Forge is there to help assist and nudge to make sure that it is going to seem authentic
Mhm.
to fans of the world. I think it's a good sign that a lot of people played Convergence, and there's a lot of new areas in Zorn that we added,
Nice.
which players might not realize actually Riot didn't make those. Double Stallion made those together with Forge,
So
but
they
if
added
players
their
they
that's
added their own
their
spaces, like the theater
beautiful.
district with all of the balloons and the megaphone, the gramophones everywhere,
Mhm.
the industrial section, the carnival. But if players can't tell the difference, that means we probably did a good job.
Well, and I think that's a beautiful thing because that allows the different studios you work with to sort of actually leave their mark on the world. And I guess it's up to, Big Riot to say that's canon, that's okay, that's golden, that's canon, we're going to carry that. But that opens up those opportunities for these studios to really, make their mark on an entire endlessly developing universe, right? And
I
world.
mean,
So I think that's a beautiful thing.
yeah, I mean, a lot of times when we bump into these blank canvas sections, studios will ask us, "Hey, Forge, what do you want us to put here?"
Mhm.
And they're surprised when our answer is, "What do you think should go there?" Because I'm asking you, as the studio who is an expert at making 2D platform action games, what do we need to go here for this stage? It's stage 4 in the game. What abilities have we unlocked? What
Mhm.
skills are we trying to test? What kind of platforming parkour sections are we making? And then having the thematic, when they start suggesting, that's where Forge can come in and say, hey, well, you might not know this, but there's this story about this character, or there was this, rumor of a thing here with this part of the world, and we can start to tie the threads together so that fans feel like it's authentic.
That's damn fantastic. I just all I can
I
actually
mean,
say.
it's a lot of work, and to be honest, I'm not doing it by myself. There's a whole team of people at Forge that help do it. A lot of people at Riot help do it. It's a team effort of everyone at Forge, and obviously the Double Stallion studio.
Well, with that, I like to play a little game with game devs because you create the games that we love. We want to create the games and enjoy the games that we love. So, with that, as there are audiences out there that maybe some of them want to be creative directors, maybe some of them want to get into gaming, we want to play a little lightning round with you, Sir Rowan, if that is
All right.
okay.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yep.
3 questions for a creative director. Go as fast as you want. The lightning is metaphorical.
The lightning is metaphorical. It can be bottled lightning.
It could be, yes, absolutely. What are your foundational rules for compelling storytelling in an interactive medium?
In an interactive medium, that's a good. I like that. That's a good quantifier because a lot of people will ask that question but not quantify the medium because I think this. You probably know this because you're playing games. The stories we can tell in video games are different to the stories that you can tell in a book or a TV show or a film.
Mhm.
I would call that the difference between say like an interactive media and a passive media.
Mm.
And I think as game makers, it's it's an opportunity, it's our duty to tell stories which are advantageous or narratively superior in an interactive medium
I like
versus
that.
a passive medium. So what are the things you can do in a video game that you can't do in a book or in a TV show or in a film? You can interact with the world, you can affect the world, you can touch the walls, you can run through, you can skim across the water, you can change parts of the story, you can interact with characters.
Tell that
These are
story, Rowan. Let's go.
but this, like these are all the things we can do in video games. So when we're
Mhm.
when I'm looking at narrative or storytelling in games, how can we leverage the things that games do that other things don't, not only don't do, can't do, because we're a video game. So being able to chat with side characters down alleyways in Zorn, being able to talk with all of Echo's friends and learn more about them, the lullaby sequence that we do halfway through Convergence for players that have played Convergence, where you rewind time and replay the same conversation with your parents
Mm.
over and over and over again,
That's
only
that's
for Echo to finally realize there are some things in life that you actually can't change no matter how many times you rewind it. And as we grow older, we have to learn to deal with consequences and outcomes of things. The
Mm.
conveying of that is so
Mhm.
much more powerful because you're literally rewinding it as Echo, just
Mhm.
beating your head against a wall until you realize actually your parents are moving away and you can't change that and you have to deal with it. We can't do that in passive media, but we can do it in a video game.
That's beautiful. Next question. Okay, I have goosebumps. Next question. As a creative director, what is the first thing you focus on when a project is presented to you?
Right. So from a game creative director point of view, like from a game point of view, obviously gameplay is king. Gameplay is king.
Good quote.
If gameplay is not there, no one cares about the story, no one cares about the art. The game can be beautiful, the soundtrack can be amazing. We make games, gameplay is king. So even if it is top down versus bottom up design, a top down design might be more thematic first. Here's a thematic goal or a target we want to hit, or it can be bottom up, which is here's a mechanic or a gimmick that we have, and then you look for a thematic or a design that like blends or fits with it. But either way, the gameplay has to be there first. So gameplay is king is one way of saying this. Another phrase which we use a lot is find the fun. You'll hear game developers say find the fun a lot, and that process of find the fun can take a while. It can take months, it can take 6 months, but personally I would not move a project forward into pre-production or into production if we haven't found the fun yet.
I love that. I look forward to the Riot Forge gameplay is king and find the fun shirts.
I mean, those aren't quotes unique to Forge or to me. That's you'll hear game developers and directors say those two quotes a lot. Like that is a shared language that most
beautiful.
game developers have is gameplay is king, and you have to find the fun.
That's beautiful. Last question. What is one piece of advice you'd give to those looking to get into creative direction in gaming?
Make something. Just make stuff. Make anything. Make something. I think the world we're in today, in 2023, the barriers to making something are lower than they've ever been before. The tools that are available, the hardware that we have available, the licensing, most of the stuff is free at this point. Even back I don't want to say back in the day, don't want to age myself, even back like a long time ago, make a card game. If you have a pen and paper, just you could make a paper prototype of something. Play Dungeons and Dragons. Just play D&D. Playing D&D with your friends, making characters as a DM, changing rules, making monsters, telling stories. Like, honestly, I think D&D is one of the sleeper reasons most people end up making games or becoming creative directors. D&D is one of probably the lowest barrier entry and high
You
value,
need pen
high
and paper,
ROI that you can
maybe
get.
some
It's just
soda.
pen and paper. The rule sets are available now. Back we had to like go and buy the books, and they were like $30 each for the books or whatever back in the day. But it's just make stuff, and the process of making stuff, you'll learn about making stuff, but you'll probably learn about yourself as well, and what you're good at and the stuff that you like making. I'm gonna cheat, Ra, and give one more
Go
note.
for it. Please, bonus round. Thank you.
You don't need to be an expert at everything. In fact, you can't. We can't. You can't be the best at everything. Good creative directors don't try to think they know the right answer for everything that they're doing. Good creative directors realize that they can't be the best at everything, but we lean on amazing people around us, and we gather amazing people around us and trust their valued opinions on things. Personally, I am not an artist or a musician or a composer, so while I have an opinion on music and art, I'm going to go and work with amazing art directors or musicians or composers or other people who know more than I do about how to craft compelling music or draw amazing art. And we still want to have taste and have an opinion, but lean on the people around you and know that it's okay to not be the best at everything. Most creative directors come from something in the past. So I'm one of our game design directors at Riot, while I'm also the creative director of Riot Forge. So I'm a game designer by craft.
Fantastic.
So I have a very strong opinion on game design because that's my craft. But in the case of art or music or even storytelling and narrative, script writing, editing, I lean on people who are better than me at that, because we don't need to be the best at everything.
That's one of the things I embrace. I like to allow people who are good at their jobs to be good at their jobs.
Yes, and not smother them.
Absolutely.
The whole point of hiring amazing people is listening to their opinions. If you don't, what did you hire them for?
Well, thank you, Rowan. Thank you for the conversation. Everyone, you can play Convergence now if you haven't already. Convergence, a League of Legends story. It's on all platforms.
It's on
Rowan
everything.
Parker, we really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your knowledge as well.
No, you're right, man.
Sure you have such a wealth of it that I'm sure if we had more time, it would just come spilling out, and we'd all be better people for it. But
I mean, that might be an exaggeration, but but I think we could easily just. I feel like we could keep going.
Cool. Well, I look forward to talking to you in the future on other projects, because I'm sure they're just going to be coming.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another game coming out later this year called Song of Nunu. That's coming out later this year. We'll happily chat with you again later this year when we do that one, and we can do another lightning round.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you, GLYFers. Until next time, we don't really have an outro. GLYFE? I don't know. Thank you.
I'll take it. We'll do it.